You're watching the TGM production. Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of Yes, our brand new series. Today we're back doing One Performer, Eight Questions, which is a brand new series where we interview performers at the Edinburgh Fringe, not just comedians, because the Edinburgh Fringe and the Edinburgh International Festival is so big, there's so many different types of performances. As I've mentioned previously, you can have the Wheel of Death in a tent, but I digress. My guest today is best known for being a magician, and he's magically appeared. It's the one and only Robert Melissa!
Hi, thank you, Tom.
You're welcome. So let's begin with our first question. Let's spin our trusty, very bright, very vibrant wheel to see what the question will appear. Oh. How has performing affected your life?
Very interesting question. I would say I started out life as an introvert, but I really love performing for people. So it drives you to get in front of people despite your insecurities, get out there and shine your light. And it definitely helps make that happen. And over time, you start to break down your insecurities, and you get out there and you push through it all, and you find your way. So
Yeah.
it's a very, very useful tool.
Yeah. And do you think that you're more confident now as yourself when you're not on stage, so you can talk to more wider people than you could have before?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen it in other people too. I've been to magic clubs where I
Yeah.
see people, and yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned there a magic club. Is that where people spend an evening doing magic tricks, or is it where you it's like a night school where you learn like that one impossible trick that you've never been able to master?
It's both things. It's a bunch of magicians hanging out. Sometimes there's lectures and you learn. Sometimes it's free time and everybody just goes nuts, showing each other the trick they're working on, or the sleight they're working on, or asking a question. It's the one time magicians can talk openly and freely, right, about their secrets.
Yeah, and in one of those buildings you don't need any doors because you can magically disappear in a puff of smoke. Um, and but I do think that when you think about it, you're right that the magicians are famously hush hush about the fact that you're not allowed to reveal the trick unless you are Penn and Teller, which exceeds the rule because they're revealing the trick by accident. Because obviously they've got like see-through things. But do you think that it makes magic a lot more interesting now that Penn and Teller exists in the world? Because then you're trying to find newer ways to impress an audience that's on a different angle to what Penn and Teller have tried to do.
Well, there's always a big debate in magic about exposing magic, and in fact, that debate goes back probably at least 100 years when stuff was in print. Now you can find it all online. But to me, I don't worry about it so much because at the end of the day, the purpose is enjoyment.
Yeah,
And if the person viewing doesn't know what's coming,
yeah,
it's a delightful surprise in the moment, and it creates a bit of joy, and that's really the essence of it. And if they figure it out or they don't, that puzzle part, that just comes along for the ride. If you want to know, you can always go get a book. You can always see it online on a YouTube. That's fine if that's what you want to do.
yeah.
More power to you.
Yeah, and I think that when you look it up on YouTube and you try and find, not just with magic, but it's with pretty much most tutorials on the internet, they make it look incredibly easy. But when you try and do it, you realize they've been doing it for years and they know how to do it. And you're just there stuck there struggling, watching the same video about, I don't know, 20, 30 times in a row because you think, that looks incredibly simple. You just do this, you just do that and then you're there and you've got cars all over the floor because you've tried to get
Yeah.
them out your mouth.
It's the same as somebody playing a musical instrument,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have and this is going sidetrack, but it works in my point. I have a gimbal, right, for your cameras, and I had to watch a tutorial to try and get it working, and they went, you press this button, and it does this, and it works. And that's like the fourth tutorial I've been watching of the same thing, and it took me 3.5 years to work out what I was meant to do. It turned out I was putting it in the wrong way. So these tutorials are easy on purpose because it was supposed to be very easy, but me pointing the camera on the wrong way around
Yeah.
just really drove me around the bend. Uh, but that's why not everything on YouTube is easy. Let's spin the wheel to find out what our next magic question is. Oh. So it changes person to person, show to show, and all different aspects of this for this question. And for like, let's say, for example, if you're doing a poetry show or you're doing a comedy show, it's a lot more simpler because you basically selling yourself. For you as a magician, how long does it take to make your Edinburgh Fringe posters? Because you've got a lot more to try and get across than just yourself.
To make the poster itself.
Yeah.
So I've actually been doing this show in the States for a while.
Hmm.
So that goes back to the first time I ever did the show, I guess, because it's the same poster pretty much.
Yeah.
The big question is how do you convey in, a small footprint
Hmm.
some hook to motivate somebody to come?
Yeah.
So the name of my show is called A Case for Magic for Lovers of Magic and Their Ambivalent Friends.
Yeah.
And hopefully that is an enticing little tidbit of like, I wonder what that means.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go check that out. And then on the back, I have a little bit more written in there about the origin story of the show, which the reason the show exists is because I used to do a lot of busking.
Hmm.
And one time I was setting up for a show and I just heard somebody walk by. He didn't even watch my show or anything. And he just walked by and he said, "Hey, a magician, the lowest form of entertainment." And he just kept on walking. And I thought, I'm not going to get mad. I'm going to get even. I'm going to make a show that is a case for magic
Yeah.
to tell people why I love magic and why I think it's valuable.
Yeah.
So that is the genesis of the show, which
Hmm.
goes back to about the year 2000.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think that the magic is one of those really interesting things to do as a busker because you're catching someone's eye. You can listen to someone playing the bagpipes or play whatever musical instrument at a semi-decent level, but when you're walking down and you see magic being performed, that's more of an eye-catching thing, and you think that that's why it works really well for busking because it's eye-catching from any distance because you're not stood there singing the Beatles or really poorly.
Yep. Yeah. No, there's certain uh, specific selections of tricks that you do on the street.
Yeah.
They have to handle the weather and the wind and also be very eye-catchy and also quick.
Yeah,
Because you need to, you're not going to stop somebody and give them a soliloquy. You got
yeah,
to do something quick that's going to catch their attention. So yeah.
yeah. You're not going to be sawing a lady in half in the middle of the street. No one's going to be walking to the shop or wherever they're heading, and then just stop and stare at someone just getting a saw out, just sawing a woman in half. And just watch this, woo, because that'll just take forever. But do you think that since the birth of people, and I don't know exactly many magicians, so it's could be a small selection of references, but people like Dynamo or David Blaine and those people that were just casually roaming around saying to someone, "Do you want to see this?" and then they just do it. Do you think magic as a busker and the magic in itself changed when those type of people made it onto TV and they're all doing a lot more different type of magic than what you used to do?
Well, the plus side to that was, I mean, really the big change in those days, and it was really David Blaine that did it, was
Yeah,
they filmed the audience reactions.
yeah,
And that is great television because that's where the energy happens, right? You see this magical thing, and then you see the people
yeah,
freak out. So you get a 1-2 punch. That's what they did. And the other thing that happened then was on television, you could put sleight of hand close up magic.
yeah,
which you didn't really see in those kind of settings before. And I love that because I mean, I do a stage show, but I also do a lot of close-up work.
Yeah,
And a close-up magic is a really delightful thing because you're right there with the person, and it's a very intimate interaction.
yeah,
And when you just give them that thrill of something freaky happening, and they get juiced by it, it's a delightful feeling.
yeah,
And in fact, that the case for magic, not to give away too much, but the essence of it is basically it's all about your intention, the
yeah,
way you perform magic. For me, my intention and what I've noticed is you can perform it so that it creates joy and that you share that joy.
yeah.
And that is really the way I like to think about it. It's a vehicle to create and share joy.
Yeah, yeah, and you mentioned the word joy. I think some of the crowning moments, I think, in British magic that I think of, and you can sense that joy, is when Dynamo decided. I don't know at what point in the day he thought I'll do that. He walks on water, and you can just see everyone just stopping and going, "That's a little bit weird." And then most recently, he decides, "I've walked on water. Let's see where I'm going to walk." And he walks down a building just casually. And I think it's a shock of the audience, but it's how casual he is about it. And that's why
Yeah,
I think, and that's one of the things that's interesting about those type of magicians is because they're just being like, oh yeah, I just do this, I'll just do that. And him decided to bury himself and try and come out the coffin alive, live on national telly. I
yeah,
mean, he just really casually went, I'm all right, I'll just hop in there. Everyone else is
yeah.
panicking, he's not. And I think that's what makes magic so fun, is because everyone else is panicking that it's going to go horrendously wrong.
Right, right, right. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely a style. There's tricks that are so strong they speak for themselves. They
Yeah,
don't really need a presentation. They just need to be done and
yeah,
done well. And if you can do them well, and you know, the audience will give you the show
yeah,
after that.
yeah. And so, on that note, let's spin the wheel to find out what our next question is. Oh, oh. Now, in the world of, I think, the art. Well, no, if you're like an accountant and you get an accountant job, you can call yourself an accountant, right? Because you might not have been an accountant in beforehand. But in the world of the arts, it's a lot more tricky. So, at what point in your career or at what point in life did you decide when someone said, "Oh, what do you do?" or when you had to fill out a CV for whatever reason, what at what point did you start calling yourself a magician?
That's kind of been intermittent because my career has been intermittent. I was an engineer for vocation for many years, but I've been a magician since I'm age 10.
Yeah.
So there are times where it ebbed and flowed in my life. When I went after university, I went all around Europe busking.
Mm.
So I was a magician every day.
Yeah.
And at that point, I called myself a magician, and that was my life. Then I went home and got a career and did all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, I didn't call myself a magician, but I would work restaurants and you know, I had part-time gigs here and there.
Yeah.
And I used to say I was a part-time magician, that
Mm.
kind of thing. So
Yeah.
then I retired, and on the way to retirement, I created a magic walking tour,
Mm.
actually modeled after the bizarre bath walk
Yeah.
that Noel Britton, I don't know if you know about that, but Noel Britton started a magic walking tour in Bath, England.
Yeah.
And I spoke to him about it, and I put my own version of it together in the States. And I did that for a bunch of years. And somewhere along the line there, I said, okay, I'm a magician again.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I started referring myself. And now this is what I do full time.
Yeah. And you mentioned there, Imagine Walking Tall. From, well, because I know a bit about walking tours in general. It's normally someone holding up a massive sign that says, "Follow me." But is a magic walking tour similar to you walking in some whatever place you're doing it in? And it might have some like elements of here's where famous magicians live. But at any point, you like walk into like wardrobes by accident and disappear. Is it like that where you've set up traps for you to do magic on the walk, or is it more about the historical of magic in that area?
So it's yeah, I can understand why you would assume that, but it's actually a little bit of a different thing. For me,
Yeah,
I live in Philadelphia, so that's the history of America, kind of the birth, one of the birthplaces of America, the revolution and all that stuff.
yeah,
So, Old City Philadelphia has a historic district, and I take people to the historic sites, and each spot is not an excuse, but a foundation or an inspiration for a magic trick.
yeah,
So, for instance, I go to Benjamin Franklin's house,
mm,
and he's the guy that said a penny saved is a penny earned.
uh,
So I take a balloon and I pop it, and inside of it is a bottle, a glass bottle.
yeah,
And then I take a penny out of my pocket and I slam the penny through the glass wall of the bottle. And I say, that's a penny saved is a penny earned. And I hand out the bottle with the penny stuck inside.
wow,
So each location has a reason, a nod to history that inspires a magic trick. So
wow,
that's what that is. Yeah,
wow,
you get a little bit of history,
yeah,
mixed with a lot of fun.
yeah. And I am. So, can you explain that? And I can picture very vividly what that would look like, and I'm surprised that no TV channel or network or whatever has ever decided we'll film that because that seems very much prime to what we mentioned. It seems very much of the ilk of like Storage Wars where you've just got random people walking around stuff. I think it would work in that sort of style. So I am sort of surprised that that's never made it to telly. But if anyone's watching, that should get made. That's well
Well,
worth.
yet, right? Yet it hasn't made
Yeah,
it yet.
yeah. It's because it. Cause that just sound you can if it's easily visualized. If the moment you explain it's easily visualized, I think that you've A sold it really well, and B it's such a good concept you can easily picture what you mean, and I think that that's what works with a lot of the arts is that if you can easily explain it, you're on with a winner. And
But just although this is not promoting my show, but the Philly, if you go to my website, it's www.phillymagictours.com. I have two websites. That's one of them,
yeah,
and that one I think has some videos on it, or Philly Magic Tours on Facebook or Instagram has videos, I think.
yeah,
Or YouTube is Robert Melissa, I think, for the YouTube channel. So
yeah,
one of those, and you can find some videos.
yeah.
But Philly Magic Tours would be the way to find it, I think.
Yeah. And so let's spin on to question who knows what number? Because as we all know by now, we regret doing anything with a mask because we forget what number, but we move on. Oh, we've had a repeat. Let's spin again. Let's spin even harder. Let's see what we'll get, which isn't a repeat. Ooh. Now, this question is it could be global. It could be you could say anywhere in the world to answer this question, but as a magician or as a performer in general, what is one venue or one theatre or one whatever sort of place of performance it would you desperately want to perform at? What's your dream performance venue?
That's I would have to say it's probably the Magic Castle,
Yeah,
which is out in Los Angeles, and it's kind of it has always been
mm,
sort of the hub of magic in the United States.
yeah,
There are places that I've grown up to rival that, I think, and maybe there are a lot of newcomers. So, like
yeah,
in Philadelphia, we have Smoke and Mirrors Magic Theater, which
mhm,
I've performed at, and that is a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous
yeah,
place to perform. And then in Chicago, they have a number of theaters, and in New York, there's a number of places. So there's a lot now. Magic is on the rise, and
yeah,
there's a lot of gorgeous. But I would say historically, it's been the Magic Castle in the U.S.
yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah,
and I mean, there's probably I'd love to perform at the Magic Circle someday, but as far as what as a kid growing up, your eyes are headed towards the Magic Castle.
yeah,
That's what you see.
yeah. And I mean, obviously, the Magic Castle is definitely a castle, but is it is it is it in a similar sort of vein to the Magic Circle in the sense of it's got that mysteriousness about it. It's like very much it's one of those things where you hear about it and when you go to it, it's not as sinister as one may think it sounds. Because the magic circle sounds horrendously sinister, but when you get there, or when you hear more
Yeah.
about it, it's like, oh, that's not as sinister, and it's not as what I imagined, just people sat around in a circle wearing capes. Well, that's what the Traces is. But what it for anyone that might not know, right? And this is a better way of wording this. But how would you describe the magic car? How would you describe it? Because to me, it seemed like a mysterious castle that is just randomly just blocked between a normal shop and then some other random place. But how would you describe the magic castle?
Well, I would say I mean, the shape of it is slightly castle-like.
Yeah,
I think it was more a name they gave it just for marketing purposes.
yeah,
It's in the middle of Los Angeles, and it really just was a place that a family created
mm,
to showcase magic.
yeah,
And it goes back a long ways. So for my lifetime, I grew up always reading about Dave Vernon or Di Vernon and the sort of elite
yeah,
of U.S. magic that would be there. And then people from all over the world came and visited and performed there. So it's really just a central hub of performance. And then it's quote unquote a private club, meaning that you can only come in, they build in some exclusivity. You have to know a magician or have some way of getting into the club.
yeah,
Um, I don't think it's too hard. I think they do that as a marketing
yeah,
technique,
yeah,
but the main thing is just that it's a place that tries to market themselves, and it's established a name.
yeah,
It's certainly established a name in the hearts of magicians because a tremendous number of wonderful performers have come there,
yeah,
and so that's what's important to me. And as far as a layperson, I think you see some good quality magic,
yeah.
and I think that's what people take away from it.
Yeah, and I do think that when you hear about how you enter these as they say prestigious like clubs to be in, and it never it always I think it's a magic circle. I read that you don't have to be a magician. You can know someone or just be really enthusiastic to just talk about it. And it always makes me laugh because it's like, what do you do when you get there? If you can't do magic, what do you do when you get there in these places? Because it's like, I think it was the prince at the time, but it's the current king is in there. I don't know if he could do magic or not. I'm assuming he can do magic, but it would just be really awkward if you just sat there and it's like show and tell evening, and you have to like show off your best magic trick.
I
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I've only been to the Magic Circle once, so I don't know all the machinations there.
yeah, yeah. Well, on that note, let's spin on to our next question before we reveal too many secrets of a building that sounds very mysterious and is actually not a circle. Now, I, so it depends on if you've done the fringe before or if this is your first time. You can sort of uh find the best way to answer this. But what's one key thing you would or wouldn't change about your first time ever doing the Edinburgh Fringe Festival?
Try to arrange the show so I didn't have to pack as much stuff.
Mm,
There's several really interesting things that are a challenge at the Fringe Festival. Number one being you get 5 minutes to set up.
yeah,
And you talk to most magicians, other than the ones that do comedy clubs that walk out with a bag and they're ready to go.
yeah,
But a lot of magicians are not like that. Me being one of them,
mm,
I usually get to a venue an hour early and I have plenty of time to set up and make sure. So there were certain tricks that I had too much paraphernalia for it to make the
yeah,
trick.
yeah,
And I thought, okay, I got to make this packable. And one, I used to have a tripod with a full easel, and a big poster.
mm,
And then we had the deck of cards, all the cards enumerated, and so on. And it was a lot to pack, and even more to set up. It
yeah,
was never going to happen in 5 minutes. So, upon thinking about it, I thought, all right, either it goes out of the show or I figure out a better way.
yeah,
And I love the trick. It has great impact. I didn't want to lose it, so I found a better way.
Yeah,
And it now is done with a jumbo deck of cards and nothing more.
yeah,
So I got rid of the easel and I just winnow the cards down. I said evens or odds, whatever, this, that, and the other
yeah,
thing. We get down to one card, which is ultimately predicted, and it's a nice way to do it.
yeah,
So that's the thing that yeah, you have to think about.
yeah. And and for you, because you're traveling over, I think the other thing you would have to think about is how would I be able to travel this? Because obviously you would have to come through customs or whatever. When you planning the show, knowing that you're gonna have to travel to do this, do you think about, well, these are the rules of things you're not allowed to take on a plane, so I can't do any tricks that sort of go through this list, or do you just make sure that none of you just do easy things that you know yourself? You A is excellent, B is I'm gonna say the word tremendous, and C is easy to store away in a bag or a suitcase.
Well, the trick to it is that um, you I've been working on the show since 2018,
Yeah,
and when you do a show long enough, it starts to mature where things just get better.
yeah,
Your audience always finds the best moments for you, and you see where the weak moments are, and then you say, okay, everybody was really happy from here to here,
yeah,
and in the middle, it's a little slow. I've got to put something in there to keep people entertained. I got to juice that up.
yeah,
So you find a line, you cut something out, you tailor it, and pretty soon you get a beautiful sequence all the way through. And so you don't want to give that up.
yeah,
So the trick was to try and bring all my material without losing anything.
yeah,
And luckily for me, I didn't do anything that required knives. There's a thing called a card stab, which is a
yeah,
great trick. It's not in my show. I'm thinking of the next show to put that in, but you could never travel with a dagger.
yeah,
They wouldn't let you. So,
yeah,
and I do it, by the way.
yeah,
The stuff that's vital to the show is packed in a carry-on,
yeah,
so I don't have to worry about losing my the main part of the show.
yeah,
And you hear about this all the time with magicians. So I will say that there's a horseshoe in the show,
yeah.
and it's a metal horseshoe, and that was questionable whether that was going to make it. And when I came through, the TSA, they opened up the suitcase and the guy takes out this horseshoe and it's a solid metal horseshoe and he waves it around and he says, I don't know about this. And he goes off and he comes back and he said, what's this for? And I said, a magic show. And he's just like, they looked at all the other props in the
Yeah,
case and it was believable. And they conferred and they let me go. So that
yeah,
was great.
yeah. Well, I'm glad that they didn't say, could you just do the magic trick now? Because I think I've heard stories where they've said, where someone has said to him, I'm a comedian, but obviously some comedians now are not, put like set up, middle, and then punchline. Some of them are
Yeah.
like it's like a 10-minute story. So
Yeah.
I do think that that's one of the awkward things. You're in a queue and someone's had to do a magic trick to prove the point
Yeah.
for it. You wouldn't want that. But I think that taking a horseshoe with you, you could have pretended, because they probably wouldn't have asked. You could have pretended it was like an element of a shoe. You're wearing a special type of shoe that's medical, um, and that it's part of the shoe. You could have said that if it was if they were worried, because then they wouldn't ask any further questions. Because why would they want to know any further questions? Because it's the 21st century. But on that note, we'll spin on to our next question. Let's see what it will be. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da! Hey! So, we've got on to the most important question. The reason why we're all gathered here today, the reason why August is so important to the arts, not just here in the United Kingdom, but around the world, because as someone said, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival is the world's largest festival. Um, who knows if that's true? Other people do. But would you be able to tell our lovely, dear viewers what is the name And what's the premise of your magical performance?
Oh, thank you. So, I kind of touched on it already. It's called The Case for Magic for Lovers of Magic and Their Ambivalent Friends. And I mentioned it was inspired by that person walking by, but also the original origin story goes back to me busking in Europe in 1983, actually, a long time ago. And I came to Edinburgh, and people knew that I was a magician.
Yeah,
And they said to me, "What are you doing here in June? You need to come back for the Fringe." And I didn't know what a fringe was back then.
yeah,
And when they told me what the madness of the fringe was, it went straight to my heart, and I knew I had to come back
yeah.
for this. So then in 2018, I started doing fringes in the US
Mm,
and ultimately got it ready to come here. And the show is, as I said, the case is really about, for me, that magic is a tool to create and share joy.
yeah,
And when given in that intention, it's not a sort of a threatening thing. It's just something that's cool that I like to share from my heart. And it just comes over, I find, in a beautiful way. I mean, one of the best uh, compliments I ever got
mm,
was from somebody saying to me, "You know, I hate magic, but I love your stuff."
wow.
And yeah, and that really made me feel wonderful because, as I say, it's just a tool to entertain,
Mm,
and uh, and that's why again it all kind of seems to be for lovers of magic and their ambivalent friends. You know, you may not love magic, but I'm really giving you my heart here in the way I tell a story, and these things are there's moments in there about connection. There's a
mm,
lot of funny bits, and there's a
yeah.
couple poetic, heartfelt moments, and the end is a very sweet moment.
Ah,
And there's a few callbacks, and it's kind of over the years, it's written itself in a way that to me is quite the essence of me. And I've had other magicians uh, come to the show and they say you're doing a great thing, which is that this show is you.
yeah,
You really are putting yourself into the show. So it's funny you were saying like David Blaine or Dynamo. That's a very interesting magic too, and their selections are so solid
yeah,
that the magic speaks for itself.
mm,
With me, it's a blend.
yeah,
That magic speaks for me to show me, you
yeah,
know. So
yeah,
that's the show.
yeah. And what time and what dates is the show on at and on to and from?
Okay, so it's August 19 to August 29 at the space at Surgeons Hall,
Yeah.
and it's 16:35. Do you guys use the military time here or PM AM?
PM AM.
Okay, so 4:35
Yeah. Um,
PM.
yeah.
August.
And do you have any days off, or is this just are you performing every day?
11 days solid. Yeah.
Wow. Are you prepared for the 11 day solid performance?
We are going to find out. I mean, I've done full day walk around magic at conventions. So
Yeah,
I'm on my feet literally. I'm up at 6:30. I'm starting at 8 sometimes, and
yeah,
I'm done at 5, or sometimes it goes longer. So I've done, like solid days of working that
yeah,
way. And I've done my walking tour 4 days in a row is the most I've ever done the walking tour, but I've done as much as I think many, many doubles on where I'll do a morning and an afternoon. So I've done, maybe it's 8 shows in a 3-day period, something like that. Or no, that'd be 6 shows in a 3-day period. Yeah, so 8 shows in a 4-day period.
yeah.
That's probably most I've done.
Yeah. And are you nervous, or are you just one of those people that doesn't have my favorite term, doesn't have time for the nerves, but just pure adrenaline and excitement?
It's both. There's plenty of adrenaline and excitement, and there's also nerves. I've been doing the show a lot, so there's a point usually where I relax into the show.
Yeah,
But the Fringe is a different story than anything I've done before because you get 5 minutes to set up. You don't get a chance to know what that is until your tech day, which is the day before.
Mm.
And I don't even get into the theater to see it or know it in advance. So I describe this as throwing 800 balls up in the air and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
And my thought about it is that at the end of the day, I'm there to entertain, and that is what I'm going to do, regardless of how those balls fall
Right.
down. I'll be making jokes left and right if things break or the table falls over or we don't have Mike. I don't know. There's a
Yeah.
myriad of complications,
Yeah.
and I'm expecting something to go wrong, you know. And but that's part of the fun of the Fringe,
Yeah.
I think. I mean, people are here to have fun, and I'm here to have fun,
Yeah.
and if we're together on that, I think we'll all be fine.
Yeah, and anything can happen at the Fringe, but all we have to do is you have to spin it into positivity. So,
Yep.
for
Yep.
example, so one comedian one year had a lot of protesters outside the venue, not him personally, it must have been something else, and he spun that into comic positivity because he was able to
Right.
use it as a material to make fun out of because it will have had a comic incident where he was trying to get into said venue, um, and he knew it wasn't for them. So I do think that anything that could go wrong, you just have to blanket in humour because
Yep.
people won't mind. Now, for people that are really intrigued by this and want to come along, where can people purchase or get tickets?
So you can go to the space website, um, and I guess it's www.thespace.com, or you can get it online from the Fringe app as well. Yeah. So again, it's called A Case for Magic, and it's Robert and Melissa at the space.
Yes. And so, let's spin on to our final question. Let's find
Okay.
out what it will be. What will it be? Why did I start singing? Who knows? Because I just have. We've had a repeat, so let's spin again. This pesky wheel. La 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 la. I need to stop singing, but who thought it was a good idea? Ooh. Oh, and we'll spin again because we've had a repeat. Let's see what it will be. Will it be something fresh? Oh. Now, I don't know whether or not this actually applies. I mean, it might do more than if you were, say, doing a play. But as a magician, how do you handle when you got people shouting out or hecklers or when you have distractions from the audience?
Well, I've been pretty fortunate. I don't really get that in the theater setting so much.
Mm,
If I did comedy clubs, I would think you would see that more.
yeah,
But theater audiences tend to be pretty nice. I've certainly done a lot of street magic, and I've done close up, and I've had people grab the cards out of my hand. I've had all that sort of
yeah,
stuff. So again, I'm there to entertain, and I don't really worry about it too much. If somebody
yeah,
grabs the cards, if that's their vibe and they want to see it, I just roll with it.
yeah,
I may change my tricks depending on which way they're going,
yeah.
but again, it's just you make a joke out of it, and you work with whatever you've got in front of you.
Yeah, and with when you get those people taking the cards out, I do think that at that point in your head, do you sort of think, well, I can either continue what I'm doing, or they've just done something, I know a trick with what they've done to try and make it even more impressive, just to annoy that person further.
Well, it's gone both ways. I remember one guy who was really on the scent of the trick, and I thought, all right, I'm going to take a chance here, and I did something that made the trick very high risk, and because of the way he handled everything, and I just said, go ahead, shuffle the deck, I don't care, whatever. And then I just did the trick anyway with about a 50% failure rate, knowing that. And
Yeah,
it happened to work out, and it really blew his mind. It kind of blew my mind as well. So, it's if it doesn't work, then they win, but My attitude on that is I don't want this to be a contest. I mean, it's a weird thing, magic, because some people see it as a contest of wits. Some people see it as I'm better than you and all this kind of stuff. And I don't go for any of that. I believe that it's just me trying to create and share joy. That's the easiest way to say it. So if I'm entertaining you, great. If you're entertained by ripping the cards out of my hand a bit, um, I don't want you to destroy it for the rest of the people.
Yeah,
Uh, but if I'm just doing a trick for one person and they whatever, that kind of thing,
yeah,
it's fine. It's fine. If it's for a bunch of people, I might have to course correct in some manner.
yeah,
So again, you just roll with your circumstances.
yeah. And you mentioned before about a magic convention. And now there's a lot of like you see there's Comic Cons for people that like dressing up as like SpongeBob, for example.
Yeah.
Who would want to do that for 8 hours a day? That'd be awful. It depends on how they've designed the costume, to be fair. And then you have other types of conventions like farmers where some bloke's showing you a massive tractor that's gonna revolutionize the future of farming or caravanning, depending on what sort of genre. With a magic convention, are you going to sort of see new tricks that are being developed, or are you there just to meet other like-minded magicians and chat?
Oh, it's funny you mentioned that because the most famous magic convention is the SpongeBob Tractor Magic Convention.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, it gets a tremendous number of people from all walks of life, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And we dress up as either SpongeBob or tractors. But no, actually, there's a ton of magic conventions all over the world.
Yeah.
And as it's become more popular, you see more varieties. And it's great. It's just an opportunity to let your hair down and sort of bare your soul with things you've been thinking about.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd really like to learn this, or it's just whatever you're into.
Yeah.
And of course, magic goes in a lot of directions. There's actually bizarre magic and close up and
Mm.
parlor magic and stage magic and
Yeah.
coins and cards and all that stuff. So you can lose your mind endlessly in these things.
Yeah, and I just think that when you really think about magic in a general like more a general sense rather than in depth, you can see that it's more than just the tricks. As you've said throughout this interview, it's about the joy, it's about the fact that you get this sort of childlike wonder and
Yep.
and you sort of feel like wow, and it makes
Right.
you believe in them because some tricks as you'll know seem incredibly impossible
Yep.
to work out how on earth you even get there to even do
Right.
it. And then do you think those type of tricks really make you chuffed is not the right word, but full of joy because you know that that person is going to spend the next day and a half trying to work out how on earth that happened.
Well, it's not. So again, the puzzle aspect of it is different people puzzle over it, but that's not where the joy is. The joy is in that just the impossibility. Like when something, I used to do a trick where I would just make, and everybody's seen this. You just make a card appear.
Yeah,
Um, and you can make a fan appear, whatever. A lot of people have seen that, but it's still delightful to
yeah,
watch. I mean, everybody knows, I think, where it's coming from,
yeah,
but there's just a beauty to it that is delightful.
yeah,
And uh, so there's just something built into us that we appreciate those things. Now,
yeah,
when you go next level, like I have this one trick that I love where you hand somebody, you ask them for name a card,
yeah.
and then you hand them the deck. You just take it out of the box and hand them the deck. And upside down in
Mm.
that deck of cards is only one card.
Wow.
And yeah, it's just a stunner because nothing happens. It's just
Yeah,
like the magic is the fact that nothing happened, and yet somehow their card is upside down.
yeah,
And it's so baffling
yeah,
and it's hard to work out, but you can see a person's mind and the gears and all that sort of stuff. But mixed in with that is this sort of it's not the puzzle part. It is the wonder.
Yeah,
Like what happened to reality for the split second? I just don't know where I am. And that sense of wonder, astonishment, that leads to joy. I think that, and it's fleeting. It only
yeah,
happens, it comes and
yeah,
goes. But what I've noticed is that's the moment. That's where you transmit the joy, and that's what I'm shooting for. So I like to highlight that and then move on.
yeah,
And people will go home, and some people will try and work it out, and that's wonderful. Magic lives on, the trick lives on.
yeah,
Other people, will just feel the feeling will come back to them. And they're not necessarily trying to solve the puzzle,
yeah.
but that feeling stays with them. And that's really to me the ultimate if I can have that happen. So, the delight is really what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, and I think that now more than ever, magic has become more popular with the birth of talent-based TV that in its version that it's in now. So Britain's
Yep.
Got Talent, America's Got Talent. The Got Talent franchise that
Yep. Yep.
allows magicians to do whatever they want. Like one person decides to do time travel, and then another person decides he'll pre-film something that he's on a roller coaster because, well, why not? And then you see the younger generations get into magic on those shows, and recently
Absolutely.
and then recently in America, got former Blue Peter presenter, which is quite an accolade to be a Blue Peter presenter, and then be former Blue Peter presenter to go into America's Got Talent and wow the audience with
Yep.
magic, which is Joel. But do you think that because of having those type of shows, and we mentioned Dynamo, David Blaine, and all those modern world of magicians, and not just people like Houdini and all the classics,
Right.
do you think
Right.
that it's you're noticing that magic is becoming back into popularity because of all that, so that all those different aspects we mentioned?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And magic, when it's done right, is just delightful. Magic, like you say, somebody can watch a YouTube video and go out and do a poor version of it.
Yes,
And that's what it hurts magic, right? Because
yeah,
people don't like that kind of stuff. So um, there's a lot of really good magic out there
yeah,
now. And
yeah,
because of it, it's become more and more popular, and it's a flywheel because then kids get interested, both
yeah,
boys and girls, and there's a lot of great women magician now, which is delightful.
yeah,
Um, I love that because a lot of times they put a spin on it, a different perspective
mm,
that you haven't seen.
yeah,
And I just think that's really great. The more perspectives, the more minds that get to it, the more it grows, and the more
yeah.
it goes places that it wouldn't normally go. So it's great to be in a new heyday and living through it.
Yeah, and the fact that Hollywood have the Magic franchise Now You See Me
Yep.
being a huge hit, even though I don't think any magician-based group will ever try and rob something for the greater good using magic because A, that's illegal, and B, I just think that that's the most unrealistic part of those films. Is I don't there's probably someone in history that robbed a bank using magic, but I don't think that happens now. But I
Mm.
don't know much about the criminal underworld, or the magic criminal underworld, which there must be out there. So as we draw a close and we put the rabbit back into the hat, trying to think of magic-based puns is very much difficult because they appear from nowhere. Um, for people that have got to this stage, would you be able to remind them the name of your show, the venue, and what time and what dates it's on at, please?
Yep. Okay, thank you. A Case for Magic. It's at the Space at Surgeons Hall, August 19th to the 29th at 4:35. And
Um,
if you go to www.thespaceuk.com, that would be the website to look at.
yeah,
You don't get the ticketing fees there. If you go with the Fringe fee, that's okay too. I mean, the Fringe website, they have an app. It's just a little bit more expensive because they charge you higher fees.
Yeah,
but you can do that as well.
yeah. And so there we have it. What a magical interview. It was yeah, yeah. No, no, there's no pun there that I was trying to think of, but it's gone. Now you see it, now you don't. Well, you didn't see it, you didn't hear it, and you will never hear it. And it's not hiding behind my sleeves. Um, what a poor joke, but that's what happens when you decide to open your mouth. Magic appears, and magic doesn't. I'm really gonna need to stop these puns, or else. Uh, or else I'll be summoned by whoever the sinister person is of the magic circle, which I don't know who that will be. Claudia Winkleman, but that's a very poor traitor's joke. Anyway, we'd like to say good luck for your Edinburgh Fringe run,
Thank you
and
very much.
and we like to hopefully you've enjoyed this interview, people, and hopefully you go and see his show because as we've discussed, you can tell by the way he describes it and by the way he describes magic that there's joy and he is very enthusiastic. So I'd recommend you go and see it purely based on the fact that he's got a very cheery personality, which is always good for any performer and any person in general, unless you work in the funeral business, then you don't want a cheery personality. Why did I say that? I don't know.